Everything is going crazy in Valorant right now. We had a quiet period for quite some time, but then yesterday we got the chamber nerfs revealed, and then today, my friends, we get information about the map rotations. And of course, this is absolutely massive. This is like probably one of the biggest things they could do, right? What maps are coming back and what maps are going? Because last year we announced the temporary removal of Split. We went with our decision to maintain a 7 map pool at all times in the unrated and competitive queues. The reason that they want to do that is too many maps to learn can feel overwhelming. It doesn't give you the opportunity to really go deep on any one of them. That's the point, that obviously in a attack shooter, you need to master the map, not just know the map. And so the idea is you don't want too many maps in there, particularly for newer players as well. So I don't have a problem with the 7 map pool. It works for pro play. I think it works well for the ranked play as well. So I'm pretty happy with it. And Split is coming back. That is the big thing. So the next map rotation starts early in January with patch 6.0, and Split will return with a few changes, as you can see down there at the bottom. I'm going to go slowly. They're going to detail those patch notes in patch 6.0. So we are getting back Split. Obviously, that means a map is going. Now, also, we're getting a new map in patch 6.0 as well. And so the 2 maps that are going will be Breeze and Bind are going to go. Those are the 2 maps that will be leaving us. They will exit the map pool in competitive and unrated, but they will still be available in Spike Rush. And there is no date set for their return. And this is an interesting point. We'll just get into it now. We might as well. That obviously in the next 6 months, probably when the next new map comes out as well, we don't, like, at this point, are they going to bring, like, are they going to swap 3 maps in and out? They could in theory, but I don't know if they will do that, because that would be a pretty monumental change to change basically half the map pool. You know, that would be a bit. So it might be that Bind or Breeze are gone for quite a while. You know, that could happen where they, you know, one of these or maybe both of these maps are gone for like a year, maybe more. So that obviously is a big deal as well. So Breeze and Bind are the maps that are leaving us this time. They will still be available in Spike Rush and custom games, but yeah, they won't be there for competitive or unrated. So let's get into why Bind and Breeze. Again, if you want to know why these maps instead of others, we talked a lot about the thought process for our map pools in the article linked above. For those of you who aren't aware, basically, they talked about with Split, basically, the new map coming in, you know, is part of it, right? They like to look at the map pools as a whole, you know, what is kind of those map pools? Do they have different things going on? Maybe that's a clue for maybe what the next map will be somewhat, right? They look at like agents that are good on maps, right? Like if this agent is good on this map, and we'll talk about that for some agents as well with this. You know, there's a ton of different things that go into it. Do players like these maps, right? I think that that's a part of it for Bind and Breeze as well, that maybe people weren't, you know, necessarily, these weren't the favorites of people, let's say. Also, do they think that, you know, these maps need some work, right? Could they use with the time off like they've done with Split? They apparently have changed it a bit, and we'll see what they've done with it. You know, could these maps use with the time off to be worked on as well, was one of the kind of crucial things. So to begin, Split is back. We know a lot of you were sad to see this one go. Very happy to bring it back to you all. Not a lot to add here really, but they are updating it, as you can see. Lots of you wanted it back, and it makes sense with the other pool shifts. We're looking forward to seeing how everyone plays the map with all the new agents and meta shifts that have happened since Split left the rotation. For Breeze, we feel like this map has some room to improve in terms of our agents and team comp diversity, as well as some opportunities for simplification of the space. Now, this one is a very interesting one for me, because Breeze is a pretty boring map, like meta-wise, right? There's very few agents that have kind of really ever even been tried on Breeze. Like half of the agent pool, you don't even try them, because obviously it's such a big map that, you know, for agents like Killjoy, right? Like the range limitations on Killjoy and the lockdown not being big enough, right? There's just certain agents where it just isn't going to work on a map as big as Breeze, which it makes this an interesting point for me, right? That like, how do you make team comps more diverse on a map that's so big like Breeze, right? Because some agents like a Phoenix can only throw that molly so far, and that's a big limitation on a map as big as Breeze. Like, I don't know how you fix that without making the map a lot smaller, but Breeze is meant to be the big map. So I don't really understand exactly what they're going to talk about there, as well as some opportunities for simplification of the space. I think maybe mid is a, like, remember what they did with like Dish on Fracture, where they changed it, you know, from the 2 lanes to the 1 lane. Maybe this is like in mid on Breeze, right? This kind of, you know, again, you got that same thing of where 2 people could walk around the pillar and completely miss each other. There's a lot of different angles going on in mid as well. Maybe that's somewhere they could simplify a bit, but yeah, an interesting one for Breeze. And for Bind, it's mostly about strategic diversity. We'd like to open up more play around the teleporters and potentially rethink how teams execute and defend against executes on both sides. So I talked about this in a video where actually I was trying to predict what maps would be rotated out. And if you're wondering, in that prediction video, I did say if Split is coming back, Bind is definitely going, and one of Icebox or Breeze will go as well. So I was right. But one thing I said in that is that for Bind, if I was the dev who designed Bind, I'd be very disappointed in how the teleport has kind of worked out, because it's kind of this really cool, unique thing, and you think like, oh, this is going to shape the map completely. But then in reality, when you play Bind, barely anyone ever uses them outside of like just rotating, right? So I can totally understand like that they want more play in the teleporters, right? That maybe repositioning them, or, you know, changing how they work in some kind of way, right? Maybe the doors don't make a sound when you come out of it, so they can't know, right? Just making the teleporters more useful in general to use, I think would be a good thing. And I think, you know, Bind kind of needs the time. I think that wouldn't be an easy change to make, and I can definitely understand why they would want to rotate Bind. And I think if they could make Bind a map where the teleporters are used a lot and they're really, really cool, and you know, crazy things are going on with it, then that would be, you know, a good map. I think that would be fun. It would be different, right? And so that's kind of what I'm hoping, that if they do bring Bind back, you know, hopefully that does come in. So we know some of you will be disappointed with these rotations, but like Split, these maps won't be gone forever. So they are saying that, you know, they will come back one day. But unlike Split, where, you know, it has only been 6 months, maybe that time period is a bit longer, depending on exactly what happens and depending on the new maps, of course, as well. But of course, with this and obviously the rotations, that leaves us with a potentially completely different map pool, and certain agents are going to, you know, like that, and certain agents are really going to not like that, of course. One of the massive, massive losers from this, of course, will be Skye. Skye, her main map is Bind. Her second main map is probably Breeze, right? In terms of like what she's meta on and whatnot. So Skye is taking a massive, massive hit. Obviously, we don't know what the new map will be. Who will be good on that? We'll have to see. But, you know, and Skye is okay on Split. It's not like that's fully recovering. And so Skye is a big, big loser, because there are other agents. Let's take Raze, right? Where Raze is obviously like Raze and Bind is like, you know, complete together in one. Right? But Split's coming back. So, you know, Raze is losing Bind, but she's gaining Split, and so it's about even, right? Brim is another loser from losing Bind as well, of course, unless, again, that new map is a Brim map. You know, Brim essentially will only have Fracture as kind of a primary map then, which is obviously not great for Brim either. And Viper as well is a big loser. Obviously losing Breeze, where Viper is like 100% pick rate, but also Bind is a very, very good Viper map where she's very meta as well. So, you know, potentially losing Bind there as well. Viper I'm less worried about than, say, someone like Skye, because Viper will still be, you know, 100% on Icebox. You'll still probably see Viper, you know, on Pearl quite a bit, and maybe even, you know, on Split as well, you could see some Viper as well. So I'm not too worried about Viper at all, but for certain agents like Skye, this is going to be like a monumental change. And so, you know, this will shake up the meta quite a bit as well, and we'll have to see exactly how this is going to work out. And, you know, this, of course, will be good for certain agents and bad for others. Overall, though, I think, you know, most of you will probably be pretty happy, right? I know that a lot of people didn't like Bind and didn't like Breeze, and so most people will probably be like, yeah, this is a good change, right? I want to get back into Split. You know, I think a lot of people, even if Split wasn't your favorite map, you know, you've probably had some good moments on Split and kind of want it back. I know that's my case as well. So you probably, you know, are like, oh yeah, I'd like to play Split again. Don't like Bind and Breeze. Good change, right? I personally would have preferred Icebox to go rather than Breeze, because, as many of you will know, I just hate Icebox. But, you know, other than that, I can't be too disappointed. It could have been a lot worse, right? They could have, you know, for whatever reason, got rid of Haven, and it would have been like, what are you doing? So overall, pretty happy with where we are. Yeah, I think this is a pretty good change. I'd be interested. I mean, everyone is going to have their opinion about this. There's no way any of you are going to be silent about this and be like, no opinion. Everyone's going to have an opinion. I would probably guess that most of you are going to be pretty positive about it, but let me know in the comments down below. You know, are you a Skye main and you are just crying right now? Or are you feeling pretty good that they got rid of your two most hated maps? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.